Okay, so I'm live and I'm testing a new microphone. It's the one that my good friend Dave Sundstrom recently provided me with. I actually had to upgrade my computer in order to use it. Just want to make sure it's working properly. I had a little uh, feedback on it the last time I used it. So, Tracy Ross Myers, Bubba, how you doing? I am honored that you were the first one to make it, and I will be honored with other people join you. Can you hear me okay? Is there anybody out there? Anybody at all? Anyway, Tracy, so glad you can make it. I'm sure many others will join you. I got a lot of great feedback on tonight's feed, and Mr. McCormick, she says yes. Oh, and can you see the chat, or should I fiddle with the chat to make sure people can see it? That's another thing. Can you hear me? Can you hear me calling? Oh, new friend of channel, Anti Scub, decided he was going to join us tonight. Welcome to the party, Anti Scub. Glad you can hear me loud and clear. You shall be thoroughly entertained, as I'm sure Mr. Wilkinson, who says hi, Thresh. Oh, and the Foundation's also here. Wow. My buddies are pouring in left and right. And can you guys see the chat okay? I didn't need to fiddle with that. Superplex, I am so glad you decided to make it. When I said that I was going to open up with zombies, I thought you'd bail on me because you're not a big zombie lore fan. But we'll certainly talk about other things as well. Oh, Superplex says something here. I'm going to use my glasses for this part, even though I can't inflect as much. Superplex says, my name is Giovanni Gregor something alone. Everybody calls me Gregorio. Gregorio? I'm just going to call you the Borgia. And as we continue, people are saying hi to each other. So, again, can you see the live chat? You should be able to see each other now. If not, I've failed you. I have failed you. Um. Anywho, so as you folks remember, I was going to open up with some zombie themes, but as always, I think the best thing to do now, since so many of you are here, what topics would you like to bring to the table? I always like to actually cater to my live friends who very graciously decide to join me for these live chats. I try to make it worth your while. Yes, I can see the chat. Thank you, Tracy. Good. I thought I had fiddled with that so it would post properly. I can see the Foundation says I can see the chat. Superlick says zombies are okay. Okay. Well, you know what? I want to open with a question, and there's some more people going to be joining us. So I'm just going to open this to the floor before I start giving my 2 cents. As I'm sure you people already know, my favorite sci-fi and or horror movie of all time is Night of the Living Dead. Game changer in the horror movie fields. So I want you to tell me, who do you people think the hero, not the best character, not your favorite character, who is the hero of Night of the Living Dead? I'm going to open with that one. I'm actually going to try to do this with my glasses. The print is a little bit bigger today. And I feel when I put the glasses on, all you see is the reflection of my glasses. You can't see me emoting. Superlick says zombies are the least threatening monsters imaginable. Zoop, buddy, Bubba, we talked about that. The problem with zombies is not when they are in a one-on-one combat situation. My 15-year-old granddaughter could take out a zombie. It's when they attack in mass, as they always do. That's what you gotta worry about. Oh, he also Superplex, ironically, is the first person to actually give me a response of the black dude. Yes, that would be Ben. Ben is everyone's favorite character in the movie and generally seen as the hero. So hold that thought. I'm gonna wait for any others. Zublik says they are slow and they don't defend themselves. Well, it depends on which version. In Return of the Living Dead or the remake of Dawn of the Dead, they're actually pretty fast. And more nimble. In World War Z, and I don't know where they were going in World War Z. In World War Z, they're like ants, and they can actually build bridges and body ladders and get over walls. Tracy Rossmeyer says +1 zombie equals zombie attack. Have you been playing Dungeons and Dragons again? Ooh, Superplex throwing down the gauntlet. Return is not canon. Ooh, snap. Well, it all depends. Now, I know that if you look at Night of the Living Dead as its own thing, only movies made, even the prequel they made to it isn't considered canon. But I like to look at zombie lore as an overall gestalt, where, like, sort of like with vampires, where the legends alter slightly in different depictions, but it all is represented in one, uh, subgenre. Zooplex also. You've been doing your homework, hey Zoop? One shot to the head finishes them, with the exception of Return of the Living Dead, where you have to destroy them on a cellular level, and in doing so, you spread the contagion. It's a vicious cycle. Speaking of which, I don't know how many of you have recently seen Return of the Living Dead. I have some notes on that, but I was watching it again the other night, and you recall when the two boneheads crack open the tank and get sprayed, and they call the boss, and the boss comes down to try to bail them out, and they create like a triangular attack formation to get the zombie that's locked in the cooler. When the zombie gets out, he ignores both of the people who were contaminated and goes straight for the boss who was not. That's actually a tip off that those two guys are already dead. And that just kind of jumped out at me the other day, pun intended. Let's see. I'm gonna put my glasses on to try to catch up. Oh, we got all kinds of persons here. Do you think Night of the Living Dead was influenced by the television coverage of the JFK assassination? I do. Because one of the main components of Night of the Living Dead is that sort of modern day news cycle coverage, which is nothing to even raise an eyebrow at now, but in the 60s was considered literally cutting edge. So yes, I'm certain it did. I'm certain it did. Tracy Rossmeyer says one zombie does not an attack make. You need plural zombies. Ah, yes, you do. Yes, you do. Well, it depends. If you're pinned under a truck or stuck in quicksand, one would do nicely. Future Boy says, hello, do you have a physical media connection? No, I do not. Anti-Scub says, what's your favorite origin for a zombie outbreak? Virus, magic, bees. No, not the bees, not the bees, not the bees. I'm sorry. On an earlier post, I talked about how I love the original Wicker Man and, well, did not love the remake so much. One of the things I think is so great about zombie lore is you never really know how it started. In Not a Living Dead, there's a speculation it had something to do with radiation brought down by a crashing satellite. But you don't know. Is it a secret weapon spill? Is it a curse from God? Just one day they start rising up and eating people. And again, this is nothing new. It was actually first referenced in the Epic of Gilgamesh. More about that later. Ken Wilkinson says The Last Man on Earth with Vincent Price was a good zombie movie. That was actually a huge influence. Romero even said, originally, Night of the Living Dead was going to be more of a Plan 9 from Outer Space ripoff. Alien invasion comes down, and just as sort of an afterthought, a way to cut down on budget, instead of lots and lots of high-tech aliens, it was going to be the dead rising from the grave and wreaking havoc. And they just decided to go more down the road of Last Man on Earth because it was cooler and cheaper. So, yes, Last Man on Earth is an excellent. The only difference is, and I'm splitting hairs here, vampires are something a little different. Vampires, of course, drink blood, and they're actually the undead, but they're still lucid. A zombie is a reanimated corpse, and they actually cover that in The Last Man on Earth. but I won't give too much away. Superblick said, "Did Knight ever explain why the zombie horde began in the first place?" Oh, I think I just answered that, but in case you missed it, a secret satellite they were working on crashed on Earth, and they thought it brought some new level of radiation with it. Oh, Dilly Dins, the good stuff is in the house. Greetings from South Carolina. I always think you're from North Carolina. I think that's because I have family up there. Ever been to Ocean Isle? Beautiful, beautiful country up there. But hello, Dan. Great to see you. Tracy Ross Myers says my dad used to call the zombie movies the schleppers. I can certainly see that. I can certainly see that. As they say in MST3K, or the riff tracks, I should say, the biggest thing to worry about with a zombie infection is a little rheumatism in the knees. The Foundation says, do you think Copper was the real anti-hero of Not Living Dead? Oh, I'm sorry, Cooper. I can't read these last long. Also, there's so many comments and I have to kind of jump around. Cooper was the real anti-hero of Not Living Dead because he was right at the end all along. I'm very glad you mentioned that. I've actually had arguments with these people, other fans. It's one of the greatest ironies in American cinema that the least liked person in the entire movie is the one who was right along. And the funny thing is, he and Ben normally go toe to toe when Ben wins. If you watch closely, after Cooper goes back down into the cellar to skulk, Ben lights up a cigarette and says, "He's wrong, you know. I'm not boxing myself down there." And I'm like, "Oh, dude, you're spiking the ball? Really? You're fighting tooth and nail to stay alive, and you want and you want to win a pissing contest?" So you have to give Cooper some credit. Do I think he's the hero? No, but you're on the right track. You're on the right track. Some people retracted messages, probably things I already answered to. Zubalik said, could an argument be made that the vigilantes were the real heroes? Great question. Sadly, no. And by the way, I should probably say at this point, say spoilers. A little late now, but as we all recall, with the best of intentions, this well-meaning group of deputized gunmen, if you want to call them, was going around killing all the zombies, and it inadvertently killed Ben, our favorite character. There's a great reference to that. They talk about that in a documentary called Film Noir. I cannot recommend that enough to you folks. Check out Film Noir. I know it's on Netflix. It might be on some other streaming services, but check out Film Noir just for what they talk about Not Living Dead. It's brilliant. But not only do they kill Ben, there's another earlier scene where they say we saw three of them, the ghouls, trying to break into an abandoned shed, and we shot them all in the head. In the shed, shot in the head. I'm going to go into beat poetry now. I have a funny feeling they weren't zombies either. I think that they're shooting everything that moves, and it's sort of a kill them all, let God sort them out situation here. Again, best of intentions, but that much collateral damage, you can't really qualify them as the hero. Let's see. Skipping down. Oh, yeah, I was trying to remove a duplicate comment. I do stuff like that all the time. No worries, no worries. Zuplex says, was there ever a controversy over the black guy saving the white people? There was never a controversy. It was certainly innovative. You didn't see a lot of movies where the main character and was a black man, and it was certainly cool to actually see one winning an argument with a upper middle class white dude, and they talk about that very specifically in horror noir. Daily Dan Good Stuff says, in The Last Man on Earth, they just called them vampires. They were sick with a virus. Didn't anyone read the book? See another remake called Omega Man with Charlton Heston. Both actually. And in there's actually a passage where the main character Neville, thank you, Neville, where Neville talks about how if you get the virus before you die, you become a vampire. If you're dead and get the virus, it reanimates you. In fact, it's either his wife or his daughter. I want to say his wife actually comes back. There's a reference to that in The Walking Dead. So it actually runs the gamut. In fact, in the end, you remember the vampire people go on a quest to try to wipe out the more zombie like uh, undead because well, they kind of get in the way of the new civilization being built. Correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't read this book in years, but if I recall correctly, there is certainly that. Zupalik says the vigilantes were the hero because they finished off the zombies. No, they didn't. If they did, there wouldn't have been a Dawn of the Dead. The Foundation says, am I right in thinking that the film I Am Legend is based on Omega Man or even a remake of it? Or is it the other way around? They're all based on the Richard Matheson novella. It's a novel, but it's a short one. Novella I Am Legend, which was adapted. Give me a second. It was The Last Man on Earth, Omega Man, the I Am Legend with Will Smith, which I don't even count. And someone said 28 Days Later was an envisioning of it. So, but they're all based on this work by Richard Matheson, as is the zombie subculture. So it's one of the most influential horror novellas in history. Film noir? I thought it was horror noir, but thank you, Tracy. Yes, film noir. Okay, there's an amendment. Check out Film Noir, the documentary. Anti Scub says, what are your favorite foreign zombie films? I gotta go with the Fulci. Huge Fulci fan. And if you've ever seen, I can't remember if it was two or three. In one of them, a zombie fights a shark. How can you not eat this stuff up? Pun intended. So yes, I'm gonna go with Fulci. Two or three, you can't go wrong. There was also, I want to say, a Swedish one involving involving uh, a lost squad of SS that were guarding some treasure. I can't remember the name of it to save my life, but that one was pretty good. If anyone can remember, just feel free to plug it in the live chat comments. Zupalik says the vigilantes were like the racist white people who strung up black. Ooh, kind of going off the rails there. I think you might be reading a little too much into it, but I can certainly see your point, and they do discuss that in film noir. But again, that's subject to interpretation. Traither Myers then goes on to say, "Would you call the Night of the Living Dead a zombie movie?" Yes. The Superlux says favorite zombie movie from abroad was Zombie by Lucio Fulci. The Foundation says I enjoyed the zombie series Kingdom. I think that was the name of it from Netflix a few years back. I didn't have Netflix a few years back, so I don't think I watched that one. Superplex says, T-Pons, what was your favorite gory zombie film? Well, that's like just saying what was your favorite zombie film. They're all pretty darn gory. Probably Day of the Dead. I know that one suffered from all kinds of issues. Originally, it was supposed to be the granddaddy of them all. It was going to be a Gone with the Wind of zombie movies. And because of budget constraints, they had to modify it at the last minute, rather haphazardly. But watch it again. It's a very solid movie and probably the goriest. Tom Sorvini really earned his pay on that one. Daily Dim the Good Stuff. What was the one with the Nazis? There's actually a few of them. Zombie Lake, Oasis of the Damned. There's a bunch that actually feature Germans, Nazis. Tomato. Traith Rossmeyer says, I meant horror noir. Are you saying that I was right the first time? Okay, so my amendment has an amendment. When I said it wasn't horror noir, it was film noir. Well, it's not film noir, it's horror noir. So, and if I'm wrong this time, just Google it. Superlex says, what country makes the best zombie movies? America. We make the best movies, period. It's one of the few things we can be proud of. It's one of the many things we can be proud of. Lance Chafin in the house says, hey, gang. Skipping down. Everyone's saying hi to Lance. Good. And hello again, Lance. Daily done the good stuff. Oh my God, I had to Google it. I'm worthless. Today's Shockwaves was the one with the Nazi zombies. Love that one. Yes, Shockwaves does count as a zombie movie. Oh, by the way, the scene where they actually come out of the water very, very slowly without breaking the surface tension. It's my understanding, someone explained it to me. What they do is they actually dip their heads under the water very slowly, and the water sort of goes over their skulls. So when you show it in reverse, it has this very sort of mystical emergence, and it has a small supporting a role with Peter Cushing. So yeah, I actually just saw Shockwaves not too long ago. I was going to watch it the other night, but I got sidetracked. Anti Scub says, I always felt the social commentary of zombie movies was the whole modern world needs to end so half a dozen people can genuinely relate to each other and work together. That's actually the message, of course, in Day of the Dead, where the pilot, the helicopter pilot, says, "Let's go find an island somewhere, start all over, and never try to dig up the records of the old civilization." But you know what? I've kept you folks in suspenders long enough. Oh, I have to say hi to Tom, the hungry jerk. Tom's in the house, fellow Bay Stater. How you doing? And now, how many people do we have in the halls? We have around 9, so that's pretty close. I'm going to read through them really quickly. The main character, the young lady in the beginning, of course, is Barbara. She spends most of the movie in a comatose state. Another lady we have is Helen Cooper, Mr. Cooper's wife. She offers to help, but she never actually does anything to help, so she's not a hero. Judy, well, she gets her and her boyfriend killed. So when you actually have a body count behind your oops a daisies, I can't make you the hero. And all Karen ever does is complain about being hurt. So sadly, film's not really strong on women, on the whole women heroes in cinema, I'm afraid. Skipping forward though, we go back to the men. Um, we have Mr. Cooper, Carl, who has an almost codependent need to argue with everybody, and rather than just like, okay, you win, I'm on board, what's the plan, man? He sort of digs his heels in because more trouble than he's worth. Tom is very capable, but, well, he manages to spill enough gasoline to explode the truck. So while he's capable and helpful, no, and also he spends most of his time trying to get people to, like, be friends. Like, he's constantly trying to get Ben and Mr. Cooper to get along, and kid, you're not going to do that. So he wastes a lot of his time. So he's not the hero. And as we've already pointed out, Ben is everyone's favorite character, but he drops the ball. His plan fails. It's Mr. Cooper's plan that actually works, at least for him, until the vigilantes show up. So while he's everybody's favorite character, he's not the hero. The hero of The Living Dead, in my opinion, is actually the media. Yes, it's that news coverage where people actually, at the risk of getting themselves and their families to safety, stay on broadcasting hour after hour, giving people every possible scrap of news so they can survive. And I'm going to stop for just a second. Daryl Johnson in the house. Hello, Daryl. Great to see you. And a lot of people having fellowship and saying, hey, it's become like the Waltons. Hey, John Boy. Hey, Liz Girl. Hey. So I'm going to just wrap up here. So yes, it is the media. It is television, which is the hero. And one other thing, by the way, trivia question: does anybody remember what the name of the doctor who they get out of the flippin' blue to go on the air and give people what is possibly, arguably, the first survival guide for a zombie apocalypse in American media? His name is Dr. Grimes. For what you Walking Dead people out there, what is the the original main character's name? Sheriff's Deputy Rick Grimes. I always thought that was a nod to The Living Dead, but I've never been able to confirm that. I will tell you, Steve Nicotello, Nicky Bellows, actually, Nicotero got his start on Night of the Living Dead many, many years earlier when he was like a teenager. So that is my input. Feel free to tell me I'm full of dingo's kidneys if you care to. Now I'm skipping down to, let's see. Zuberblick says, whenever you say the black dude, I'm just gonna say Ben. It just gets so Ben had a chip on his shoulder. Chill out, dude. You're living in a zombie apocalypse. Well, he's trying to get this guy to work with him, and the guy's like not cutting him any slack, Jack. Um, Also, remember he was hiding in the basement when Ben could have really used the help. Hungry Jerk says, Tom's chick Judy was hot. Yes, she's actually married. Little trivia question here. She was actually married to Russell Striner, the guy who played Johnny, Judy's brother, in the beginning of the film. Lance Chafin says, "Hey Thrash, you keep buffering. Has anybody else noticed any buffering?" I saw one or two like skips on my end, but let me know and I'll try to fix it. Skipping down. Oh, the foundation says, yeah, good call on that, Thrash. Thank you. Anti-Skip says Grimes also worked with Homer Simpson. Yes, his good friend who loved to be called Grimy. Good catch. Zublik says, I don't get why the guy was pestering the blonde in the beginning. They were brother and sister. And like all siblings, they love to drive each other insane. Hungry Jerk says, I gave up on The Walking Dead. I would have bumped off Negan long ago. A lot of people said that. Lance Chafin says KNB effects. Not entirely certain what he's getting at there, so feel free to elaborate. Dilly Dan says, did you like the Dawn of the Dead remake? The original was a classic, but to me, the remake was a nightmare. I cheered for the zombies to eat everybody, and they did. I honestly thought the Dawn of the Dead remake had its moments. I prefer the original, but I don't think Dawn of the Dead 2004 was the write-off a lot of other people do. They went in a couple directions I wouldn't have. Oh, Lance Chafin wants a wrench. Let's just see. Boom. You are now my trusty wrenchman. Oh, okay, so Tom says no buffering. I hope it's not your personal system, but Oh, and Dilly Dan says they looks good to me. Or Zuzel says no on my end. Lance Javen said, I refreshed my page, it's okay now. I was hoping it was something like that, but sorry that you were having the problems. I'm gonna go on to my next topic, and because I just saw this one recently and it's so much fun. Return of the Living Dead. I'm sure you've all seen that. What do you folks think about the possibility that the coolest guy in that is a former Nazi? Yes. Ernie Kaltenbruer, the guy who runs the mortuary next door. There's a lot of references that he actually served the Third Reich during World War II. And I'll get to that in a minute. I just want to see what everyone thinks. And there was a sudden blurb in the comments when I said that. So I think people have already started kicking in. Superbook says nope. I don't know if you say nope to that or. Oh, hey, Gary Carpenter's in the house. He says, hey there, Thrash Pondo. Hey to you, Gary. Great to see you. The Foundation says, did you guys prefer the original or remake of Pet Sematary? I prefer the book. I'm sorry. Stephen King, he's one of those people where, and people try, and some get pretty close. His books are so psychological. So much of it is what goes on in here. It's really hard to adapt that to a screen. It's the same problem with H.P. Lovecraft. I've liked some Stephen King works that I've seen. I heard The New Stand was great. I haven't seen it. I saw the original and enjoyed that. But it's really hard to get a visual medium of Stephen King and have it really pay off like the actual book does. Daily Dan says, are you alone? I saw a shadow on the wall behind you, like someone walked by. My daughter's in the kitchen going back and forth, so it's probably what you saw. They're very graciously trying to keep the volume down so I can do my live chat, but they're still. My little studio here is actually in the living room. When I'm on my phone, I'm in my den, which is the garage, which is downstairs, but our computer is upstairs, so I have to kind of create a makeshift, a crude studio up here. But yeah, at least I hope that was what you saw. Gerald Johnson says, "Oh, great, Lance has a wrench. You know what he's going to do with that, don't you?" Oh, I just saw it that time. Oh, look who's here. Retro Nerd Girl. Hi, Thrash Pondapons. Glad I could catch the stream. Did not know that detail. Well, I'm glad to give Retro Nerd Girl a detail, something about a movie she doesn't know. That is a feat. This woman knows her cinema. I mean, I'm good, but she's like IMDb. It's just amazing. And I have some examples here that I'd like actually like to present. First of all, his name's Ernie Kaltenbruer. When he was an SS commander during the war. In fact, they say originally in the notes it was supposed to be the Ernie Kaltenbruer, but he would have been in his 90s at the time. But anyway, when they first go into his office, he's listening to a German war song. His pistol is a Walther PBK, I believe. Someone told me I thought it was a Luger, but I guess a Walther PBK. That pipe he's smoking. My grandfather used to collect pipes, and I would have sworn that was a Central European style. That's just my 2 cents worth. If you look at his walls, there's a painting of Hitler playing poker with some other guys, like that dog playing poker. Only in his one of them's Adolf Hitler, and also there's a like a pinup photo of Ava Braun on the wall. So, oh, and also there's a scene when the rain really starts coming down. He looks out the window and says, "It's beginning to rain like a Betreugen Soldat." In my very bad German, that's a drunken soldier in German. So again, he probably wasn't Ernie Kaltenbauer because he would have been, like I said, in his 90s. But I'm guessing he may have been in the Hitler Youth or Kaltenbrunner is an illegitimate son, or oh, let's just see. But anyway, that's my take on it. So maybe yes, no, maybe so. Gary Carpenter says the only thing I saw of his is the one where the airplane passengers landed on an unknown airport. Oh yes. The Langoliers. Yes, because I just had a wire cross. There's an Italian horror movie, a zombie movie. I want to say called The City of the Dead, where a mysterious airplane lands in a major Italian airport, and a bunch of zombies get out. But yeah, Langoliers was the Stephen King, I believe you're speaking of. I do remember that one. Azupalik says, "Did Return of the Living Dead any good?" I'm assuming he means was. Yes. Yes, it was. It's actually one of my favorites. It's one of the first zombie comedies you can find out there. Um, they all have a certain amount of humor in them, but this one was actually done as a comedy, and I thought it was excellent. I thought it was very entertaining, very fast paced, amazing soundtrack. If you like that sort of punk rock sound of the '80s, a very very worth watch. And Zublik says, so the hero was not the Nazis. No, he wasn't the hero. He was just a very cool character. He helps them out. He tries to save the girl. There's that great scene where, well, I can't spoil it. It's one of the best scenes of the movie. But he's just one of the most capable and most helpful characters. Again, most zombie movies don't have a true hero. That's the point, is that if you could actually rise to the occasion and stop them, then you wouldn't have that ending, which is always hopeless, with some notable exceptions. But no, I'm not saying the hero is a Nazi. This is not 7 Years in Tibet. Oh, or The English Patient. Yeah, I remember there was that years ago where like all the movies were being made about Nazis. That sort of. Anyway, Zublik says, wasn't the hero that general who unleashed the nuclear bombs? That was a major colonel, at the risk of being a smartass. And I don't think blowing up Louisville, Kentucky would qualify someone as being a hero, particularly when it doesn't work. if you're going to take one of our cities off the map, I will tell you though, the tactical nuke scene is a really badass scene in the movie. And look really close. Next time you see the movie, look really closely when the bomb explodes. When you get that boom and the mushroom cloud is rising up and up and up and up, and you see the skyline of the buildings right in front, of that mushroom cloud is a building, and just one of the lights very casually goes on, as if some guy's saying, "Honey, did you hear something go boom?" And he turns his light on seconds before. Well, we all know what happens. They have a day after moment. So, but he tried to be the hero. So the hero worship is subjective. If you want to make him the hero, go ahead. Pardon me. The pollen up here is killing me, by the way. And the humidity. For some reason, the Cape got really, really humid in the last couple of days. Lance Giffen says, I love the Tommy Knockers. I remember, wasn't that the one that was sort of inspired by 5 Million Years to Earth and the whole, what was that guy's name? Quatermass movies or TV series from Britain? There's a bell ringing in my head. I love those old Quatermass movies. I haven't seen them in years, though. But I think that was the inspiration for Tommy Knockers, where the ship crashes and their psychic energy seeps on, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. Oh, Dan, I meant to tell you, I did see your Cyndi Lauper in concert post, by the way. It was excellent. I just haven't, there's been a lot going on, by the way. I had to take my poor mother to the emergency room yesterday. Oh, boy, with the details. She's much, much better now, but she actually went down in an ambulance, and then I had to follow her, and I brought her home last night. A very long day, so I haven't had a chance to be as up on top of my posts as I'd wanted to, but yeah, I saw that. That was excellent. Lance Chafin says, Dan, she's good enough for me. I'm assuming you mean Cyndi Lauper. That was fun from one of her songs. Goodies are good enough, I believe it was. Ooh, Tom says, seeing Cyndi Lauper when she opened for Devo and the B-52s in San Francisco in 1991. Excellent. Anti-Scub says, Ernie always reminded me of Bert from Tremors, the elephant gun survivalist. I can see that. I can actually see that. A little more subdued. You know what I'm saying? A little more Ice Water events, but I can see that. He was played by, I'm trying to remember what the name of the character is. I'm not going to butcher it. He did a lot of those old Barney Miller and other TV shows years ago. He usually played a weirdo. Oh, he plays a crazy radio man in 1941 as well. Gary Carpenter says it's been hot here too. I think there's a lot of that going around. Zubrlik says there were heroes at night. It was the Vigilantes, and Return of the Living Dead. It was the nuclear devices. Zoop, you're dark tonight. I can't wait till we get to Night of the Comet. Dilly Dan, the good stuff, says, I love them old movies too. Grasshoppers from Space killed me. It sounds like you're talking about the beginning of the end. I want to say with Peter Graves. There's also Killers from Space with Tom Birch. And both of those feature giant insecty creatures. I love both of them. Gary Carpenter said, I love the original Blob movie with Steve McQueen. How could you not? We were actually didn't we just talk about that with the last live stream? Yeah, that is a classic. Lance Chapman says, I love them about the giant ants. Yes. Leonard Nimoy has a small walk-on part in that. He plays an officer in a communication room. I think he has like 2 lines. But yes, that was one of the first science fiction pictures, if I remember. That actually had a fairly good budget. Trithos Meyer says Frozen. Oh, Let It Go. Let it go. I can't. No, I won't sing. It's copyrighted anyway. It's Disney. They'll destroy my soul. Giant ants with one them are Empire of the Ants. I'm a them guy. Empire of the Ants, I want to say, is actually more based on Food of the Gods by H.G. Wells. That just leaped in my head. I believe I read that somewhere. There have been a lot of adaptations. And Brian, if we get around to it, I want to talk about Brian Aldiss if how much time we got? Ooh, it's almost 8:30. Believe it or not, we might have to do Brian Aldiss next time. But Brian Aldiss wrote a novella called The Saliva Tree. And it's basically a love letter to H.G. Wells. It's basically Food of the Gods if it was written by H.P. Lovecraft. Tom says you got to do a show on Roger Corman and Will Castle someday, Ponce. I will, but I won't do. I'll do two different shows. Each one of them deserves his own show, unless we do some kind of compare and contrast, which I'd be more than happy with. Actually, I can do one about one about the other, and then one show which is a comparison. But no, I love those guys, both of them, and their films. And Gary Carpenter says Peter Graves in the beginning of the end. Yes, thank you. I thought so. Anti Scub says horror comedy is a real, I'm guessing, even hit or miss genre. Besides Return, what other horror comedies do you like? I always loved uh, Trilogy of Terror, not Trilogy of Terror, Comedy of Terrors. It's an old Vincent Price movie. It was one of those. Speaking of Roger Corman, it was one he did with Boris Karloff and Peter Lorre, and it was actually very, very funny. There are certainly plenty of others. Scary Movie counts, certainly. But my wife and I saw The Possession of Emily Rose in the theater, and the audience years ago, and I remember the audience was cracking up, laughing the whole way through. It wasn't even a comedy, but it was coming off very, very funny. Dilly Dan, the good stuff, 5 million years to Earth. Those were the space grasshoppers. Oh, that's right. The Martians do look like grasshoppers in that. I completely forgot about that. Yes, I was talking about the beginning of the end. Superlex says, where monster movie was the one with cockroaches climbing the buildings? That's beginning of the end. And those were grasshoppers, unless there's another movie. Gary Carpenter says, 20 million miles to Earth. One of my favorites. Fantastic movie. Daryl Johnson says, beware of the blob. It creeps and he's doing the whole song, yes. Gary Carpenter says you need to do a show on Ray Harryhausen. I certainly do. You guys are giving me some great stuff. I think these are all my great live chats. In fact, I was thinking about that actually. Some of my posts, are just me talking for 5-10 minutes. I think this is actually works better because you guys can actually throw me the micro topics. And thank you. It's just a little more interactive rather than just me meandering where I think the conversation should go. Dilly Dan points out, news flash, there's no time limit on YouTube. You can go as long as you are feeling it. I can, but I promised my missus had to work late tonight. And I promised her when she got home I'd have something, goodies for her. And if she gets home and there's no food, she'll think I forgot about her. And she'll get mad. Start yelling. So I'm going to have to leave. Not just yet, people. Don't worry. But I am going to have to pop some food in a little bit. Just to keep my wife from getting mad at me. Thank you. Gary Carpenter points out it was Comedy of Terrors with Vincent Price. I was on the right track. The words were there. Trilogy of Terror is the one with Karen Black, isn't it? Where she plays 4 roles in the movie. It's an amazing film. Vincent Price in LA 39 years ago. Oh, Tom Hungry Jerk says he meant Vincent Price almost 40 years ago. That's excellent. My old roommate, his father was a state trooper somewhere and actually pulled him over, and he was a very nice guy. Then do a show on Japanese monster movies. Loving it. The Foundation says an angry other half is far worse than a zombie horde. Tell me about it. Trader Osmara says, ha ha ha, Robert. Superblick says, let's see how far we can go. Gerald Johnson says, oh, the Manster. The man that's a fun one. That's sort of like a Japanese werewolf, man with two heads, horror movie, which doesn't involve a super large monster. He's just regular man size, hence the Manster. Retro Nerd Girl says, I am not sure if you've covered this yet, but today is Ray Harryhausen's birthday. He was born in 1920. I did not cover that. Thank you. These are the little factoid tips that I actually just love. He was one of the greats. I remember, from Jason the Argonauts to Clash of the Titans. I just thought he was amazing. I had always wished he had picked up the old Willis O'Brien idea for. You people probably already know this, and I'm going to cover it when I do the Japanese monsters. But King Kong versus Godzilla was originally conceptualized as King Kong versus Frankenstein. Apparently, Frankenstein was going to be artificially enlarged in size enough to where he actually had he was comparable with King Kong, and the two of them were going to slug it out somewhere. And Willis O'Brien never made it, and the project got shelved. But the Japanese bought it so they could make King Kong versus Godzilla. And, well, it's known in America as Frankenstein Conquers the World. That's where Frankenstein fights the big lizard, and in the sequel, War of the Gargantuas. And, I think we already have my topic for my Japanese monster movie show. Superblick says Robot Monster is an underappreciated classic. It's one of the worst films ever made. The principal special effect is a bubble machine. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love it, but I would hardly call it an underappreciated classic. Azublik says, what the hell is the Master? No, not Master, Manster. The Master is a villain in the Doctor Who franchise. Gary Carpenter says, then do a show on John Austen. I could. It would mostly revolve around the Addams Family, but he did plenty of other stuff as well. He also did the Operation Petticoat TV series. Anti-Scub says Harryhausen is a great topic. A video on the best claymation in films would be cool too. I could probably go from one into the other, much like we did today. Hungry Jerk says, I'm a big fan of Harryhausen. I'm a big Harryhausen fan. I've met Forrest J. Ackerman. That is so cool. I just saw a great documentary on Forrest Ackerman. Forrest Ackerman is just, he coined the phrase sci-fi. I personally believe that were it not for his efforts, science fiction would not be as big of a subgenre, genre, I should say, in the States as it is. I think he personally helped drive it forward. Skipping down. Zuplik says he did a monster film about a dinosaur attacking New York. Yeah, that's called The Lost World. And yes, it was a brontosaurus, which comes out of a coma and breaks free and attacks New York. Daily Dan, the good stuff says, Thing with Two Heads with Ray Milland and Rosie Greer. And remember that one? Laughing. I own it. I actually own it. In fact, I believe I own it on a 2-disc set. And I'm trying to remember what the other film is. I don't think there were actually 2 films around the same time about a creature with 2 heads. I don't think it was the other one, but it would have been slick if it was. I think it was Frogs, which I'm sorry, I love frogs. it's just a deliciously revolting movie. Skipping down so bad it's good. T-Pons. I'm assuming Mr. Superplex is still championing Robot Monster. Hungry Jerk says the beast from 20,000 Fathoms attacks the Golden Gate Bridge. Beast from 20,000 Fathoms? Is that the octopus? Yeah. Yes, I'm with you now. Gary Carpenter says Godzilla versus the Sea Monster was going to be another King Kong movie, but it fizzled out. There's a bell ringing in my head. I vaguely recall the backstory behind that. Superblick says autocorrect error T-Pawns. No worries, I didn't even catch it. Lance Javen says, is Dave doing a live stream tomorrow? To the best of my knowledge, he is. Hungry Jerk says, The Incredible Melting Man was funny. Yes, it actually was, now that you mention it. I haven't seen the movie in years, but that is actually considered a comedy, believe it or not. And a couple things about that one. It is actually a very slight, sketchy remake of a movie called The First Man in Space. A little more graphic. But the thing about that movie is it's sort of a zombie movie where there's only one zombie, which, as many of you have already pointed out, the whole point is lost. But the reason he eats people, because the story is always, why do zombies eat people? Do they get nutritional value out of human flesh? And if that's the case, why don't they eat any living tissue? It's not that he gets nutrients from it. It's just that his body has been so microwaved. His cells are dying. So subconsciously in his microwave fried brain, he just needs fresh cells. It's not doing him any good, but he's craving it. Sort of lady, and I'm going to butcher her name too, but I'm not going to apologize to her because she's a serial killer. Lady Batney from Hungary, the noblewoman who lured all the young girls to her castle with the under the guise of becoming domestic servants, and then she killed them and bathed in their blood. Yeah, they think she had some crazy ailment where she craved fresh tissue, and that's why she was bathing in blood. I think she was just a sick sicko. But they should do a movie about her, actually. I think it'd be crazy. She's actually creepier than Vlad the Impaler. People are starting to go, more than understand. Bye, Lance. Bye, Tracy. Let's see who else is going. Oh, good night, Tracy. Take care of yourself. Night, Tom. Again, we're going to the John. Why can't I think of the Waltons? I grew up with that show. Good night, John Boy. Good night, this girl. Good night, Ma. Good night, Pa. Good night. Gary Cooper points out Countess Bethany. Thank you. Superblex says we are still here. Oh, no, I'm just saying goodbye because there's a lot of goodbyes in the column. So I want to make sure everyone gets a goodbye before like I said, I'll go for a few more minutes. We never get around to the comment, and we never get around to talking about Hot House. A huge boon on my channel. Apparently, some other people have actually discovered Brian Aldiss recently and have found my channel because I did some early posts on Brian Aldiss and his books, Graybeard, Hot House, and his short story. Check out the one I did on his short story, But What Can Replace a Man? I'm very, very proud of that one. But anyway, people have actually picked these up. So I was going to talk about Brian Aldiss tonight. Didn't get around to it. I'll save it for next time. There will be a next time. Probably not next Wednesday. Next Wednesday, by the way, I'm with the Action Elite. We're going to be doing a compare and contrast of Escape from New York versus the sequel, Escape from LA. And I'm so looking forward to that. Escape from New York is my second favorite John Carpenter film. I'll let you decide what the first one is. And I actually never saw Escape from LA. So I'm going to see it in preparation of this. I'm going to see it with an open mind because I've heard differing things. Some people loved it. Some people thought it cheapened their love of the first one. Anti-Scub says, what ideas did you have for future vids, T-Pawns? That is an excellent question. There have been a lot of suggestions here in the chat. Japanese monster movies, Ray Harryhausen, Corman Flicks, Castle Flicks. I'd love to do something on this. I bought this book years ago. There was a copy of my school years ago. It's called Alien Landscapes. For some reason, I'm getting a reverse image, so hopefully you guys can read this okay. I went through the same thing last week. And there are some great depictions of vintage sci-fi books in there. So if you're trying to visualize classic science fiction, this would be a great go-to guide. I was actually going to use it specifically because it talks about Hot House. This was actually my introduction to Hot House, which was my introduction to Brian Aldiss. Um, I tend to do a lot of movies, but I'd like to do more in the way of books because people don't read as much. I don't read as much as I would like. One thing I found, a couple things, I love doing audiobooks for two reasons. One, I can do them while I'm at work. I can't read while I'm at work because, I have to be working, but I can listen to other things while I'm at work. Two, I read an article recently, well, part of an article, that we actually have far better retention when we hear a story as opposed to when we read it with our eyes, which makes sense because when our ancestors were sitting around campfires, they were listening to stories and retaining them, not reading them. We hadn't invented reading yet. So pick up more audiobooks, and then you can actually read more. And yes, I do count audiobooks as reading. Had a little discussion with my father over that, but well, he's probably right, but I still consider it reading. Zublik says, "Who the hell is Brian Aldiss? Brian Aldiss. Brian doesn't even show his name. Well, take my word for it. Aldiss. Brian Aldiss. OBE. He was a golden age English sci-fi writer and humorist. He's probably best known in this country. He wrote the short story AI is based on. He also wrote the book. I don't know if any of you saw about 30 years ago. There was a John Hurt, Raul Julia film called Frankenstein Unbound. He wrote the novel it was based on. Ziplik says The Fog. He did not write The Fog, but no. Oh, my favorite John Carpenter film. No, my favorite John Carpenter film is The Thing, based on Campbell's book, Who Goes There? That's my favorite. The Fog is great. Don't get me wrong. I love The Fog, but The Thing is my favorite. Superblick says, what was that third zombie movie? Yes, I had notes and everything. The third zombie movie was Night of the Comet. And you know what? This is going to be your homework. For those of you still there, I still get 10 people watching. Holy cow, even with the goodbyes I've gotten. I made a case. In fact, I want you to go into my channel and watch this post. I do a post on Night of the Comet. There's a little, I lost a little footage at the beginning and the end, but I actually still posted it. And I give the theory, the suggestion, it's not a zombie movie, but a Christmas movie. And I want you folks to watch it, and we'll talk about the next time. Even though it's a horror movie, does it count as a Christmas movie? And there have been horror Christmas movies. See Under Black Christmas. Zuplex says books are better than movies. Gary Carpenter said, "Can I see your book?" Yes. This is the special edition of Hot House by Brian Aldiss. Lisa Fields. Hi, Thrash Pondo. Hi, everyone. Lisa, I am so glad you made it. I'm very sorry. I'm going to be bailing any second. I promised my wife I'd make dinner. She had to work late tonight. But for you fine folks, I will cut a little close and stick around for a few more minutes. Oh, we also have Kevin Davis in the house. Says hello there. Kevin, hello. I'm so glad you could join it too. Did I not post that it was standard time for you folks? Apologies if I didn't. Retro Nerd Girl goes on to say, audiobooks are one of my favorite modern inventions. I first discovered them actually, and someone got me some on old cassette tape, because of where we went. And I never really listened to them. I had a Walkman, I didn't really listen to them. But when I started commuting, and I had to drive like an hour and a quarter both ways a day, and there were a couple of spots on the mass highway system where radio stations don't come in, I was very glad to have audiobooks. So that time was not wasted, because you can't read and drive at the same time. I actually tried that once. Gary Carpenter says, which Thing movie do you like, the original or the remake? You mean the prequel-ish? I actually could not warm up to that. What the reason I loved the original so much, the 1981, 82, I want to say. Well, first of all, Kurt Russell's great. The chemistry between Kurt Russell and Keith David, even though they don't like each other, Keith David is one of those actors where why did he not become a megastar? He just with the resonant voice and the badass expressions he makes, and just the man is just awesome sauce, and not to mention with the supporting cast. I really felt for the crew in the original The Thing. I didn't find myself getting emotionally invested with the team in the second one, so I'm gonna have to stick with the original, the first one. The foundation says decent homework. Yes. So you can actually also comment in the comment section of that post, but I think it might be more like I said, I don't know if I can do it next Wednesday. Uh you know what? I might do? I might do a Dave pre-party. Not sure. I'll keep you guys posted. I Ian wants to do a post tomorrow on grunge music, and I am so in. I'm not sure if we'll have it up and posted until next week, but Ian and I are working on projects again tomorrow. And Daily Dan and I, of course, I have to set up. I wasn't able to set up StreamYard this week because of various issues I had going uncovered earlier. But when I finally get the StreamYard up and going, he and I are going to have that long-awaited post on Bigfoot and Wild Boy. But until then, please dig in to my earlier posts, and I should have something live for next week. Oh, Kevin Davis says my favorite sci-fi slash horror is Alien and Aliens. Those are great. Zubril says Aliens is better than Alien. You could well, one's action, one's horror. I like Thing from Another Planet, says Daryl Johnson. Of how could one not? It's actually a great movie. Um, Dan, the good stuff says I used to listen to those audio cassettes like The Shining on long road trips. It's funny the box of cassettes I actually got was Stephen King short stories. I don't know why Stephen King loaned himself to audiobooks, but he certainly did. They were read by John Glover, the guy who played the father of Lex Luthor in Lois and Clark or Smallville, one of those. He actually did the reading. He has a great resonant voice. Oh, Kevin Davis says agreed. Apparently, he liked Aliens better than Alien 2. Yeah, one can certainly make that case. Haven't quite decided which one. I'll probably Alien myself for me because it was just so innovative. But you can still make a case Aliens was excellent. Anti Scub says that retro sci-fi landscape book looks great. Looking forward to it. Expecting floating purple islands and bubble helmet astronauts. Yes, you've hit the nail on the head. This is actually you can tell when you see it. This is one of the things that Cameron used as impetus for Avatar. Actually, Hot House is one of the 12 books he borrowed while making Avatar. It's so funny. Avatar learned his lesson. He makes Terminator, which is loosely based on one author's works, and he gets sued for plagiarism. You borrow from a dozen, it's an homage. But yes, I promise, Alien Landscapes, I will go over this in more detail next time. There will be a next time. Maybe I'll do something Monday. Yeah, maybe I'll have a little pre-show Monday, but I'll keep you guys posted. There will be notification, I promise. Lisa Field says, I agree. He's a great actor, very underrated. We've been talking about many actors, so I'm not sure which one, but it was an actor I mentioned. I'm glad you agree. Oh, Watch Emmons says, hello, everyone. Boy, a lot of people coming in under the wire. Yeah, we're wrapping up, Watch Jim. I'm so sorry, but I'm very glad to see you. Very glad you could make it. Daryl Johnson says 82. I think, yeah, that sounds about right. Kenneth Wilkinson says James Arnett played the Thing from another world. He sure did. He certainly did. Kevin Davis says, I do think the Alien franchise went a little too overboard. Love the first two. I won't say I hate the last two, the second two, but I did not enjoy them nearly as much as the first two. And well, after that, yeah. Zerplik says, "Did you enjoy The Stand?" Yes, I did. I did. Are you talking about the early 90s made for TV miniseries? I certainly did. I haven't seen that. They've made one for some streaming service I haven't seen. Kevin Davis says, I did enjoy Prometheus. I still haven't seen it. Someday I'm going to check it out. I just haven't got around to it. It just, for some reason, it just wasn't clicking. I don't, for me, the movie just didn't beg for a prequel. Gary Carpenter says, give me The Day the Earth Stood Still. Original. Well, yeah. I love Jennifer Connelly too, but you know what? Nah. Anyway, Gort, Klaatu, Barada, Nikto. Kevin Davis says that was good. Yes, it certainly was. Zublik says Alien should have ended with aliens. Kevin Davis agrees. Lisa Field says, oh, Keith David. Yes, thank you. Keith David is an amazing actor. He was great in They Live. He was phenomenal in Platoon. Oh, my God. When I was a kid, there was a retired Army sergeant that lived across the street from me. I'm going to make a really long story short. Now, my mom was engaged to this retired lieutenant colonel who was for want of a better term, was a sociopath. And the retired Army sergeant across the street, while he certainly respected the colonel officer and all that sort of rot, didn't like the fact that he wasn't doing a lot for our home life, and I spent a lot of time at this guy with he and his wife. I spent a lot of time at their home. They used to make me lunch, and the wife used to make us a big lunch, and we'd watch old horror movies. Not that there wasn't lunch at my house, but the colonel was pain in the ass about it. So I'd go over and watch these old horror movies at this guy's house. And when I saw Platoon for the first time, all I could think of when I saw Keith David is, "Oh my God!" So I loved him in Platoon, but I'm kind of getting off the track. But anyway, yeah, Keith David is absolutely amazing. He's on Rick and Morty now. He plays the president of the United States. Gary Carpenter said Avatar was a great movie. I've got a glow in the dark T-shirt. That's awesome. That's awesome. Zublik says Keith David disappeared. No, he hasn't. He's on Rick and Morty. He plays the president. He was also on, what was that show, Black Jesus? He plays a preacher on that too. So yeah, he's still working on like Adult Swim and Cartoon Network and that type of thing. Zublik reiterates what's up with that third zombie movie. Again, we're gonna have to save it for next time, I'm afraid. I promise you, we'll talk about that in the comment. I do promise you. But I'm actually cutting it kind of close as it is. Kevin Davis says, if you have Apple TV, take a look at For All Mankind. That sounds, I'm going to write that down. That sounds interesting, and I won't remember it, even though I can replay this live chat. For All Mankind. There we go. I've considered it written down. And what Jevin says, They Live was great. It certainly was. Check out the music group Klaatu. Got some interesting songs. Oh, I think I know who you're talking of. The Foundation says, did anyone see the series Raised by Wolves? I haven't. I believe it's part of the Alien universe. I haven't, but it sounds good. Anti-Scub says, this was fun, Pawns. Glad the algorithm caught you. Go make those goodies and have a great night. Thank you, Anti-Scub. Yeah, apparently he didn't know how he got my recommendation, but he did. And I'm glad he made it, and you will again too. While you're waiting, please check out some of my earlier posts. Good night, all. Good night. Everyone say good night. And on that note, I think we should just go. Oh, I do have one more from Retro Nerd Girl. Keith David was about 13. Oh, Keith David has about 13 upcoming movies one of them is Shelby Oaks. Huh. Apparently, the Adult Swim and Cartoon Network gave him a revitalization of career. Anyway, Anti Scum is right. I got to take off. It has been so much fun. I probably even should have started even earlier, by the way. I didn't know how many people were going to be jumping on board. But anyway, thank you guys so much. I've had an absolute blast. Go do your homework, and we'll talk more next time. And like I say, be watching over the weekend. I should know what my plans for next week are going to be. Good night to all of you guys. I'm so glad you guys could all make it. And sorry that those of you couldn't. Anyway, take care, be good, be safe, be careful. And I'm looking to see you all again very, 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 very soon. Peace.